Welcome to Let's Talk Antigonish, the podcast where we sit down with neighbors, experts, and friends to explore the stories, the questions, and the big little issues that shape life in our town, one conversation at a time. This week, we're talking about Antigonish's own Death Cafe. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Antigonish. It's me, your host, Justin, with
Anuj.
Anuj. Hello, sir.
How are you?
You never say your last name. This is very,
I know.
Very formal.
What happened?
I don't know.
I think we have some very special guests today.
Special guest, so we wanted to be extra formal. Yeah, so our guests today to talk about the Death Cafe are Dorothy Lander and John Grampole.
I go by my last name.
Just Mr. Grampole?
Dr. Grampole.
Oh, excuse
Sir
me.
Dr. Grampole.
Sir
Shut up.
Doctor?
No, beg your pardon.
Nope.
Keep going.
Only call him Doctor from now on.
No, please, don't do that.
But so the two of you are known entities in town for HARP, the People's Press, the publishing company that you founded how many years ago?
2018, 6 years ago.
6 years. And in that time period, you've published an enormous number of books. What's the total?
Well, 35 books, a documentary film, a CD.
That's
And 18 ebooks.
Wow.
That's insane. So congratulations, first of all, HARP People's Press. But we're not here to talk about HARP. We're here to talk about death. So, Anuj, this is the Death Cafe. Is that something you've been part of? But I have not. So I don't know anything about this subject. So can someone please tell me what on earth the Death Cafe is?
I'm going to let John do that because John really initiated in Antigonish, but he heard about it in England. And I think sometimes it's called something different in England, like
Yep.
they have kick the bucket festivals in
little more cheeky,
England. Yeah, it's cheap, but
Growing daisies. Yes, growing. That's right.
yeah,
Quality.
yeah.
You know, life is a fatal condition. We are all living and we're all dying. Something to think about. And so when I was in medical school, which was an enormously long time ago, I found that the word death was never used. We actually would go out in the corridor with the social worker and use the D word. D word.
Oh, really?
Really, yes.
Even after a patient had died, you'd say,
No. Talking about a patient who was going to die, we'd talk about the D word, and we would never talk about it to the patient. Anyway, the point is, it was just
taboo.
not talked. It was taboo. That's right, to use that well-known Urdu word. Anyway, it came to me some years back that it's time to take it out of the closet. So that's what we did. And I decided that other people might be interested in talking about illness and aging and dying and death. So why not try it out? And so that's what we did. And I tried it out on Dorothy, which is what I always do with any crazy idea, and she thought it was a good idea. So then we decided to have a conversation about being of a certain age, about aging, about dying, about death, about after death, afterlife.
So,
So
yeah, so you've gathered people. You tried it on Dorothy. Dorothy, you were into this idea, and then you found friends, and you made a sort of formal group.
Well,
Yes.
it's a growing group. I mean, we were kind of amazed at how many people were interested. And actually, John was thinking, I don't want to take on the organization for this anymore. So he said, well, I'm backing off. And they said, well, no, we want to continue. So then Antoinette Karuna came to the fore. And so Antoinette Karuna is now organizing it in Antigonish. And she lost her father maybe 3 years ago, and I think that was part of her interest. She's probably the youngest one in the Death Cafe, but her father was a racquetball player with John, so that was kind of
A famous figure in town for sure.
That's right.
And I'll just say that the only time I ever beat, I don't know whether you knew, did you know Karuna? Yes, oh good, of course you did. Well, the only time I ever beat him at racquetball, must have played 500 games with him, was when he was dying, essentially. I mean, he kept going, and halfway through the game he said, I don't feel very well. and he realized he better stop playing because I was winning. I thought it was because I was winning, but no, it wasn't. He was gone in very short order, within a week or two.
Huh.
Yeah.
I guess that's one way to win a match, John.
That's exactly right.
So when you say that the cafe is to get together to talk about death, that's the sort of broad umbrella. Are you talking about the logistics of putting together your will and testament, or is it you're talking about the afterlife, you said, or just like how people react to it and how people grieve? Like what specifically gets talked about?
Well, it's all of those things, but we want to make sure that it wasn't a support group. It really was about.
So it's not about like someone has recently lost someone and then they're to help, to have help. That's not it at all.
That's not it at all.
Oh,
but
okay.
it's the logistics, having a personal directory. I mean, we've had some amazing guests. Maybe if just mention some of our presenters. Anuj came and talked to us about different religious traditions around death and dying.
That's correct.
Now I want to know what you said.
Yeah, but let her finish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I got to get back
Wonderful.
to this.
Yeah.
So we had Sean Gwynn, who makes willow caskets, and she has actually made willow caskets for John and me.
Okay.
Drop by our house and you can see John's willow casket is now his coffee table.
True.
Until he
It really
has
is.
another
Yeah.
use for it. So we had
fair.
a whole presentation on we had Louisa Hart. What's it? Hart. Is it Hart? From Epilogue in Halifax, come and talk to us about green burials.
Okay.
And I learned for the first time that
You are better off buried at 3.5 feet instead of 6 feet.
Is that
Yeah.
true?
Things like that.
Yeah.
Because the bacterial activities are higher.
That's right.
And your body composes faster.
Faster, yes.
And so there is no need to embalm for so long a year time.
Yeah.
It's more environment friendly. It's cheaper. All kinds of things. Amazing.
I learned so much. And
Yeah,
one
amazing
that I
woman.
never thought of is that cremation is very toxic because, not only toxic
And expensive.
that's right. Yeah.
Right?
So,
And so how do you make it affordable as well?
yeah.
So this is literally anything having to do with the concept of death or dying is part of it.
Yes.
Do you talk about like palliative care? Or when you say dying, what do you mean by dying?
I think he should join the group
Well,
because
that's-
he's asking all the right questions.
But he's not old enough. He doesn't qualify.
True.
I mean, I can adopt an unhealthy
Any
lifestyle.
age.
Yeah.
I would say as I said at the beginning, living is a fatal condition. We are all going to die, and we didn't always recognize that. In fact, many people just do not want to even think about the idea. But we realized, well, why not take it out of the closet, like I said, and think about dying? So yes, all subjects. Yes, indeed, we've had the palliative care doctors come,
Okay.
which was wonderful.
Twice, actually.
Yes, that's true.
And
You're
amazing
right.
doctors. And we have one of the 2 palliative care center in the entire province.
Yeah, so we hope to get them on the podcast. So
Yes.
for those who don't know
No,
what
you should,
palliative
yes.
is, John, Dr. Grampole, could you please explain what palliative means?
Palliative simply means care. It means looking after somebody in a loving, compassionate, caring, attentive way. Doesn't matter what you do in your life outside of that little space, but it's often distinguished from practice of medicine, which is about, often doctors think about curing patients. Not a bad idea at all. But this is not about curing. This is actually the very opposite. Palliative care is about the care of a person who is probably going to die quite soon. And I would like to just say, you may not know the name of Balfour Mount. Balfour Mount was a professor, a surgeon actually, at McGill University. He died 2 weeks ago, and Balfour Mount coined the term palliative care.
Oh, wow. Fascinating.
And would you imagine how it would be to create a unit in a hospital called the palliative care unit and then die in it? That's
Sure.
what he died in it. Isn't that something? I mean, he created
What a
this thing,
story.
and then
Yeah.
and where does he die? He dies in his own
In his
unit.
own union.
Isn't that nice?
So is it because we're talking very casually about death. This is not a problem for me because I'm very casual about it myself. But it is casual in the sense that I can make it fun and funny. I'm a big fan of gallows humor kind of stuff.
Right.
However, what is the tone of the Death Cafe? Is it people cracking jokes, or is it getting serious? Is it sad sometimes? Like, what is the sort of general tone of these discussions?
It's
All
both.
of the above.
It can be hilarious at points, and then it can be, especially when we're there on our own. We don't have a guest coming, and we start telling really quite intimate stories. Then it's it's therapeutic, but it can. I can sometimes surprise myself and get quite emotional talking about something. And it really feels, even though it's not set up as a support group, I have to say that since I've been there, John and I have no family in Antigonish, and so all of a sudden we feel, all of a sudden we do have support. People who know us really well.
Yeah, it's an affinity group. You feel very close to people.
Yes.
Just because of the kind of stories you have heard, and the person you have got to know. I think it's quite beautiful.
Yeah.
So, what is when someone new is joining the group? What do you think the most common motivation is? Why do they say that they're there?
I think it's aging. I think honestly, although Antoinette is only in her early 50s, maybe she's not even that, maybe in early 40s. But really, most of us are in our 60s, 70s, 80s. You may exclude yourself from that, but and as I said, that's why this fellow hardly qualifies. But we tend to be. I think aging is the commonest, and people who've had a health issue or lost somebody. Somebody of close family has died, or those kinds of reasons, or just loved. And I did write down some principles here. It isn't like I think you said. It's not a grieving or a bereavement group. It's not. Yeah. But there is if you're interested and have no problem, like making jokes maybe, which is death jokes, like you said, or gallows jokes, aging and dying and beyond. For example, Debbie Castle, you'll know, Debbie's coming to talk to us about the soul as distinct from the body. It's a nice idea. And she and her buddies have written a really interesting book about the soul and what the soul is. So that's
So it gets metaphysical at times.
Right.
It's not all just like how to write a will.
Right. No. But that's certainly the personal. Did we mention personal directives? That was a very powerful thing. Yeah. Somebody called Louisa Horn, who's in Halifax, came with her two women friends who run an organization called Epilogue. And Epilogue, some of you will know, sort of epilogue is what happens. People write an epilogue after somebody's died. But they just decided to call their organization. But their primary purpose is about personal directives and about preparing your getting ready to...
So for those who don't know a personal directive, how would you describe it?
Well, it's all the instructions. It could have things like the DNR, do not resuscitate, in it. It could have that. It could have really very precise things of who whether you want a funeral or don't want a funeral, or if you what you want to be buried in. Maybe you want to be. I, for example, would like to be. I would like my grandmother's quilt to be my shroud. That kind of thing can go in my personal directive. So it can be from the very mundane to the very, very personal.
So it could be healthcare instructions. So do this, don't do that, but also after death instructions as well. And a lot of people die without these things. It's very common, or without a will or a testament, any of that sort of stuff.
And that's one of the kind of motivation, because as John was saying, it's such a taboo subject in many families. People never talk about at the dinner table or even in the drawing room. And till it's too late, and people scramble. So what to do now?
Right.
And many people Like we talked about MAID, for example,
Oh,
and
MAID,
how
yeah.
and assisted dying.
Yep.
And that's become legal now, and that's a huge subject, at
Yeah.
the age. So there's no question, as a to not to be asked. We explore all this. For example, you were saying, if I may just say, different faith traditions and
Yeah.
how they look at death or end of life.
So I'm curious to what your presentation was, because we're here in Nova Scotia. We have a lot of sort of Western European ideas around this. What did you talk about, and how is it different from where you grew up or from your faith, Jainism? Like how is it different?
So I'll be very short because I think it's David and
Yeah,
Dorothy's
50 words or
time.
less or fewer.
Sorry,
words.
I'm sure you'll edit this.
Don't
I
have
think-
time for 50 words. Go on.
I think like in Muslim faith, Islam, in Jainism, in Sikhism, in Hinduism, the idea of death and life have this philosophical clarity in their own way, which is very different in each faith. And even just the procedure in Hinduism, you try and dispose the dead body as soon as possible. You don't keep it.
Yeah.
So even if you're waiting for the relatives, they will all say, no, please don't wait for us.
Yeah.
And we'll come and celebrate the life later, that kind of thing. In Islam, they again have a very, very simple ceremony. It's a time to remember, to reflect, and remember the person. So each faith has their own practice as well as religious philosophy behind it.
Are these? Is it more out in the open in other cultures or other faiths than it is here? Because Death Cafe seems like an anomaly here. People don't talk about death.
Relatively back home in India, definitely. People do, prepare for it much more and talk about it much more. I think, as I have compared notes with fellow members of the group here. But again, this is anecdotal in my experience.
But as people did in past, when we were young, perhaps, people did talk about death more freely. I mean, back in when you
Right.
couldn't cure anything,
Sure.
and people died young, then I think it was much more open. People were quite willing to talk next door to their neighbor about these issues and friends. But that went away completely with modern medicine, I think, and the attempt to cure everything and have a war on death. War on death is a kind of a medical idea, really.
Right.
Sadly,
Yeah.
total nonsense, of course. but still.
So, what do you see the future of the Death Cafe? Who would you like to have? I'm assuming you would like more people, maybe younger people. Are there other goals that you have other than increasing numbers?
Well, we've got a wait list practically for
Yeah.
not for
So-
people coming, but for presenters. Like we're
Fascinating.
thinking all the different topics that we could.
Okay.
I think we should have a one on bereavement and how different traditions grieve.
That's correct.
Yeah.
In fact, it seems as if people were quite interested when I suggested at the last meeting, and you, I know, have responded, Anuj, that maybe we don't need any outside presenters. Just let's talk amongst ourselves. And people said they really liked that idea. We don't need to bring in other people. We'll be ourselves. This group that's grown up, that's got to know each other quite well.
Yeah.
And that's a out-of-date list, but not everybody. Usually it's about 15 people, maybe.
Yeah, I've got a list of many dozens of people.
Yeah, but we don't. Yes, and as I said, that's old. But the fact is, we usually, I think, maybe 15 or 20, and that's plenty. We don't need more.
Sure. But if people are interested, maybe people who are listening, is there room for? Would you accept more people? Yeah.
And we do keep adding people. We'll have a conversation with somebody, and they say, "Oh, well, I'm interested," and then John will just take down their
Do you have
email.
a resource? Like, if someone joins the group, do you have like a whack of resources? Be like, oh, here's things you need to know about personal directives and blah blah that you hand them, or is it all just sort of organically comes up in conversation?
Well, I think Antoinette has got a whole Google sheet and minutes, and so there's lots of resources there. But I think that would be a good idea to have even a reading list or
Like, for
anything.
example, in one session, we just spend time of going through what goes into a will or what can go into a will as a group, right? And you don't have to cover all the points, but we have a template that we went through. Yeah. So we have been kind of curating some of these resources, some at a very transactional levels, So, but we have not really kind of morphed into an institution with all these resources. This is very much a group conversation and just trying to navigate these subjects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems to be once
Right?
you open the door,
Yeah.
there's no limit to the number of conversations. And in answer to your question, people show up actually without being invited?
Sure.
So fortunately, it doesn't get too much. But I'm sure, as you all know, in some ways, the smaller the group, the more intimate and more real the conversation.
Yeah.
So to have too many people can be...
Yeah.
can
But,
lose.
one way to deal with that, if there is interest, because as we know, we have about 20% of our population above 65 in Antigonish. And so there are lots of people who are facing different challenges, like, even transiting from a big house in the county to coming to town and living, in a assisted living or otherwise. These are all end of life subjects.
Yeah.
And and everybody's trying to navigate that individually. They don't have to. We can have much more conversation, much more support, resources available to people to make some informed choices. But I guess, as a group, I would say, I'm speaking out of turn, both, that if people want to create and join, we can have multiple groups.
Yes,
and people can run
split it off.
People can run, and we are happy to help set up those groups, for example. So yeah,
You're right, Anuj. And indeed, this whole thing started in East London in 2019, as far as we know. There was a group decided to do this. And it's now in many, many countries, certainly in Canada, certainly in the US, but then in many other countries. I don't know about Asia in general.
Yeah,
but
I
maybe
don't know
it's-
either.
you
Yeah.
know. But it's certainly become a widespread topic. There is one thing I want to bring up, and that is about connecting with your beloved dead. We were asked to actually. We wrote a chapter about writing letters to the beloved dead in the Egyptian, the Old Kingdom, 2700 BC or something like this. They were writing. They found fragments in Cairo Museum of letters that had been written by the living to the dead. Very sweet. Behold, I am the one who loved you on earth. So how are you? How does the great one look after you according to your wish? So that sort of thing. I mean, so we wrote letters to the dead. My mummy died when I was 12, so I wrote a letter to my mummy when she'd been dead 50 years. Dorothy can speak for who she wrote to.
And I wrote to my husband, Patrick Napier. I never call him late because he was never late for anything. so he was a CBC broadcaster.
Oh, I see. Yeah, he had to be there on time.
Yeah, so he was never
That's
late.
the point, yeah.
So I don't like to use either the deceased or late. But anyway, I wrote to him, and
got a response.
And well, John got a response.
I got a
and I
response,
got
yeah.
a response. And you will. That's the thing about writing letters, which is a lost art. If you write a letter, you expect a response, and you get it.
What kind of response did you get?
Wow. This is good.
Have we got time? We may not have time.
Well, okay, fine. We'll leave it a mystery then.
Yeah.
I will
Well-
mention that for the younger generation, I know of a phone booth in Japan, which is supposedly a one-way connection to the dead and the afterlife. So a lot of people line up to use the phone booth to have conversations.
Oh, those wind.
yes.
What do you call them? Wind booths or wind?
I don't know, yeah.
Yeah,
wind,
something like
wind
that.
phones.
Yeah, so you don't
Wind
have
phone.
to write
Wind
a letter
phone.
if you
Yeah.
hate writing letters, young people.
Right.
You can also probably text.
And here is a very practical question, a 3-question. Let's see if you qualify.
Okay.
What happens if you die at home? Do you call 911? Do you call the doctor? Do you have the right over that body to bury on your own? What do you do?
I do not think you have the right to deal with a body on your own. I'm pretty sure you need to get people involved.
Okay.
I could be wrong. And
You could be wrong.
I'm probably wrong. And I assume you pretty much have to call at least the funeral home, but 911 is my guess.
Interesting. So many people don't know answer to that. What happens if you die 300 kilometers away from any hospital, and you are an organ donor? What happens?
Definitely call 911 to fly you in as quick as possible.
And does that happen all the time?
I have no clue. What are the
There you go.
answers? What are the
There-
answers?
I can tell you that answer. You have to figure it out. So these are the questions we also explore,
Oh, yeah.
very at a very practical level.
Good.
Sure.
Right.
There are many answers to those questions. It's a good question, but like many questions, the answers are complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
So all right. So we're just going to tease those questions, not answer them, and then tell people they need to come to the Death Cafe to figure it out together with this group of fine people. Is that the conclusion?
Yeah.
So yeah, is there anything else we haven't covered that you wish people would know, either about death and dying or the Death Cafe itself?
I would like to tell my story about how I got a response.
Oh yes,
May I?
okay. Okay.
I can keep it quick. So I wrote my letter to my mummy and told her what I'd been doing with my life for the last 50 years. I then, sadly, my brother-in-law down in Georgia, America, died. I went to his funeral, and my daughter, like you do when death happens, I guess, she was sorting stuff out. My sister is a good bit older. Anyway, she said, John, this is just about 3 weeks after I'd written to my mummy. She said, I've been sorting out this trunk of stuff ever since Malcolm, that was her husband, died. She said, I came across this letter. It's got a George VI stamp on it. It was written in
Before the war?
written in 1952.
Okay.
Just before my mother died. And she had written to us 4 children. Given the letter, I guess the letter got to her sister, my eldest sister, and she opened it, and this was my response. This was my letter back from my mummy, saying, "Dear John, I do hope, my darling John, I do hope you become a doctor."
Oh.
She's in this letter. I'd just written to her 3 weeks before, and she was responding by saying, "This is what I hope." But the letter has actually been written 50 or 60 years earlier.
It counts though. It counts in my book.
And time is a human concept anyway. So
That's right, Anuj. It could
Yeah,
have been.
good. Good. That's
It
it.
was written in the future and the past at the same time because of quantum mechanics.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
Well, this has been fascinating.
Absolutely. There's so much more. We could go on forever, but I feel like going on forever and talking is the thing that you want to happen at the cafes. So instead of us
true.
yammering on, I tell
It's
people
true.
to go to the cafe. How would people find this? How are they going to know where this is and when? How do they contact you?
Contact us. Contact. I think that's the best thing.
Just call.
Email.
Email. Oh yeah, great. So I'll put the email in the show
We do
notes.
it once a month on a Wednesday at
Okay.
4:30 in the library.
in the library.
there. Yeah.
Okay, People's Place.
Yeah.
People's Press, People's Place.
Thank you for asking us about this.
Yeah, thanks
This
for
is
coming in.
fascinating. Thank you for coming in.
Yeah.
Really
No,
appreciate it.
That's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks. And happy trails.
Happy trails.
Thank you for listening to Let's Talk Antigonish. If you like the podcast, don't hesitate to subscribe. Just go to letstalkantigonish.ca and click. Voila! You'll receive new episodes right in your email inbox.
This podcast is a labor of love. Please consider making a contribution, small or large. Maybe a monthly subscription. Depending on the level of public support, we would like to engage local producers and journalists to create more regular deep dive news stories about life here in Antigonish.
Right now, it's just Anuj and I doing this in our free time. You can read all about the podcast and ways to support us at letstalkantigonish.ca. And if you're a local business that wants to sponsor the podcast or even place an audio ad, we are certainly not opposed. A huge thank you to all of our subscribers and especially our paid subscribers, which have helped us to buy the audio equipment that we needed to get this thing off the ground. And remember to get in touch with us if you have an idea for a future episode or a burning question about life in Antigonish that you want us to explore and get answers to. We welcome all feedback. Just email us at letstalkantigonish@gmail.com. Let's talk, Antigonish.